On a sunny day, Hashira proposes they gather the freshly grown crops. Leludia strolls beside him, expressing how fulfilled her life feels due to his abilities. He grins, stating it's all thanks to their collective strength. From their porch, he starts to say something more. He attributes their success to the blessings of the plant deity. Leludia sits joyfully in the field, relishing their tranquil, bountiful existence. Suddenly, the scene fractures. A caption reveals the tale begins with his death. Hashira finds himself alone in a blank void, questioning his whereabouts. A stunning goddess materializes, informing him that he has awakened. She introduces herself as Alfira, the deity of plants, while he stutters his name. Still bewildered, she acknowledges his confusion. Her attendant softly advises him to first find his calm. They now find themselves in a vast, empty, curved space. Hashira gasps as grass unexpectedly sprouts beneath him. A close-up reveals thick wooden legs emerging from the fresh turf. A table and chairs sprout from the earth, leaving him astonished. Elfira invites him to sit. A voice calls out to Alfira from off-screen. A stern, horned deity named Ars appears, warning her against altering the realm. Elfira brushes off his worries and urges Hashira to take a seat. He mutters about this becoming quite the annoyance. Elfira introduces Ars as the deity overseeing planet Earth. She clarifies that this expansive void is the divine realm. He discovers she brought him here at Ars's behest and inquires why. Elfira's demeanor turns serious as she prepares to respond. She gently informs him that it's because he has passed on. His eyes widen in shock as he whispers, "Died." A memory flashes back to a lonely overpass at night. A single abandoned shoe rests on the pavement. He was working to support his family. He sees his own lifeless body sprawled on the ground, dead on his way home. Back in the divine realm, Alpha observes him with a sorrowful expression. He grips his head in despair, realizing the memory is true. Ar watches silently, his expression calm and unreadable. Hashira looks up, the grim reality of his death finally dawning on him. Ars explains that Elfira intervened to prevent his soul from being recycled. Hashira asks why, and she beams, saying it's because she likes him. He is utterly taken aback by her unexpected, cheerful admission. She asks if he remembers repairing a small, broken shrine as a child. He recalls his grandmother telling him a harvest deity resided there. He inquires if it was the shrine at his grandparents' home, and she affirms it. He remembers how his efforts attracted more visitors to the forgotten shrine. Elfira smiles warmly, crediting it all to him. She reveals she has been watching over him since that day. A flicker of realization crosses his face as he processes her words. Yet his expression darkens as a more painful memory resurfaces. He recalls the somber funeral altar for his departed parents. He remembers standing stoically, comforting his grieving younger sisters. He reflects on the silent question that tormented him. Why wasn't my life happier? The pain of his challenging life still lingers in his thoughts. Elfira apologizes, admitting she was powerless to assist him while he lived. Hashira looks up at her, his expression surprisingly clear. A subtle smile graces his lips, hinting at understanding. He assures her that she has no reason to feel sorry. He reflects on how selfish it is to only seek the gods in times of need. Elfira feels moved, while he is utterly repulsed by the sentiment. He points a finger, accusing Japanese people of being selfish in their faith. Hashira can only offer a timid apology for the offense. Alfira interjects, proposing a fresh start in another realm. He discovers this new realm is an isekai, inhabited by non-human beings. It's a transfer, not a reincarnation, but the alternative is total oblivion. Refusal means his soul will be entirely snuffed out and replaced. Alfair speaks candidly, acknowledging no promise of happiness in this new life. She reassures him that if he seeks only rest, she won't impose. She meets his gaze, asking him what he genuinely wishes to pursue. He pauses, deep in thought, searching for his true answer. Silence lingers as Alfira observes him, patiently awaiting his choice. She stands, stepping barefoot onto the grass. She approaches him while he remains seated at the table. He gazes up at her, her expression sincere as she stands before him. She confesses that what she's about to say is her own selfish desire. Gently, she takes his hands, looking down at him with empathy. Her wish is for him to live his next life freely, unshackled by past burdens. Tears unexpectedly fill his eyes, leaving him puzzled by the emotion. He touches his cheek, bewildered by the sudden wave of feelings. Elfira opens her arms, offering comfort. She envelops him in a warm hug, acknowledging the hardships he faced. As she caresses his hair, his long-buried sorrow begins to emerge. A memory of his beloved, smiling younger sisters flashes through his mind. The emotional dam bursts, and he weeps uncontrollably against her shoulder. A blank panel signifies a moment of pure emotional release. A small embarrassed Hashira apologizes for his emotional breakdown. Elphira smiles gently, assuring him that it's completely fine. Bars observes, his patience wearing thin, and asks for his decision. With newfound determination, Hashira exclaims, "Please transfer me." Powers gives a nod of approval, and Elphira beams with delight. She inquires about his desires for his new life, promising her full support. He sits in contemplation, pondering the life he truly yearns for. His eyes widen as a vivid image of his ideal future takes shape. He envisions a serene, idyllic farm set in a sprawling natural landscape. He articulates his desire for a peaceful, laid-back existence amidst nature. Hours notes that this aligns with Elphira's expertise, which she confirms as the goddess of harvest. The two deities stand ready to fulfill his wish. Elphira declares that she will now grant him her divine protection. She focuses, and a brilliant sphere of light materializes between her hands. The glowing orb drifts from her hands, merging into his chest. Hours comments that with her blessing, he'll never have to fear hunger. Hashira examines his hands, admitting he doesn't feel any different yet. Elphira reassures him that he will soon acclimate to the newfound power. She then mentions there's one more gift she wishes to present. She reveals a large, ornate staff crafted from twisted wood. He accepts the powerful artifact, asking her what it is. Elphira reveals that the divine staff allows her to harness her abilities, transforming into any tool she envisions. He gasps in amazement as it morphs, discovering that its dimensions can also be altered. With the now slender staff in hand, he is awestruck by its remarkable convenience. Hours remarks that the blessing has been granted, signaling that all preparations are finalized. The serious god announces that the time for the transfer has arrived, instructing him to be prepared. A radiant magic circle glows on the ground, pulsating with divine energy beneath him. Hours affirms his desire for a nature-rich location, and Hashira concurs. With a warm smile, he adds that he prefers to avoid crowded spaces. As he begins to ascend in a beam of light, Elphira calls out to him. Elphira wishes him a joyful new beginning, while Ars encourages him to thrive. Gazing down, he expresses his sincere gratitude to both Elphira and Ars for this opportunity. The two deities diminish in size as he is drawn into the brilliant radiance. He finds himself on a bed of soft leaves, groggily questioning his whereabouts. Sitting up in an unfamiliar clearing, he realizes he is deep within a forest. He jumps in shock, suddenly aware that his attire has completely transformed. Inspecting his new clothing, he deduces it must be the local version of farmer's attire. He gazes in wonder at the towering trees and plants he has never encountered before. As he strolls through the strange terrain, he passes an unusual crystalline rock formation. He pushes through the thick underbrush, determined to figure out where he is. The vista reveals an endless expanse of trees. More than abundant, it's a vast forest. A worried look crosses his face as he realizes this is nothing like the countryside he envisioned. He reflects on his predicament, recognizing that surviving here will be quite a challenge. He halts, sensing a peculiar, inexplicable power rising from within him. He contemplates constructing a house, feeling a strange surge of energy at the thought. He lifts his staff, instinctively grasping how to channel this newfound energy. A surge of tremendous power erupts from his staff, ripping through the dense forest. Magical vines twist upward, carving out a perfect clearing in the woods. He stares at the outcome, realizing this astonishing display is the plant god's gift. He understands that if he utilizes this power, like Elphira, he can create. Closing his eyes, he focuses on a cherished memory from his youth. He envisions his grandparents' home, a place filled with warmth and joyful memories. Wood creaks and shifts rapidly, assembling itself into the familiar outline of a house. Beams and pillars crash into position as the house takes shape in a flurry of activity. The house stands complete before him, and he grins, amazed at how swiftly it was built. He slides open the familiar door and steps into his newly crafted dwelling. With a gentle smile, he surveys the space, feeling a profound sense of nostalgia. He wanders through the empty space, his footsteps echoing on the bare wooden floors. He realizes his power couldn't furnish the interior, leaving it stark and empty. He sighs, recognizing he still needs essential items like a kitchen and a bathroom. Suddenly, he realizes that finding fresh water must be his top priority. He gazes up at the rafters, his mind now focused on this urgent new objective. Standing outside his new abode, he resolves to venture out and explore the surroundings. He steps into the thick wall of foliage encircling his newly formed clearing. The forest is dark and wild, a truly untamed and unfamiliar environment. He navigates through the woods, his divine staff glowing softly as he proceeds. The underbrush rustles in parts ahead, creating a clear path for him to follow. He watches in awe as the plants themselves shift to clear his route. He smiles, realizing his blessing makes traversing this wild terrain remarkably easy. He kneels, grateful for his ability to comprehend the properties of the local flora. He identifies two edible plants, the leafy tobihiko and the bulbous alnico. A grin spreads across his face as he discovers wild vegetables absent from the city. His eyes catch a tree laden with pale fruit, instantly recognizing it as gravelingos. He takes a big, crunchy bite, the refreshing juice exploding from the fruit. The gravelingo is known locally for its perfect blend of sweetness and tartness. With a joyful flush on his cheeks, he proclaims the fruit is incredibly tasty. He decides to gather more, aware that the plentiful juice will satisfy his thirst. His woven basket fills up with the freshly harvested gravelingo fruits. Basket brimming, he moves forward, catching the faint sound of water. Excitement builds as he follows the sound to a stone embankment. Peeking carefully over the rocky edge, his eyes widen in astonishment. Before him lies a vast, shimmering lake, and he gasps in pure wonder. He scrambles down the rocks, thrilled to have discovered a water source. Wading into the crystal-clear water, he smiles as fish swim all around him. He comments on the water's clarity and the sheer number of fish present. Fishing crosses his mind, but he realizes he currently lacks the right tools. Nearby, the soft sound of hooves on grass draws his attention. He crouches low, alerted by rustling from the nearby bushes. Peering through the leaves, he wonders about the source of the noise. Hiding among the foliage, he tries to catch a glimpse of what's there. A peculiar green deer with a single elegant horn drinks from the lake. The creature raises its head, droplets cascading from its muzzle. He observes the unusual herbivore, so distinct from Earth's wildlife. While vegetables are nice, he finds himself craving some meat. He recalls an old hunter who taught him the fundamentals of butchering. Kneeling down, he contemplates the choice to hunt the beautiful creature. His expression hardens with determination. He has resolved to hunt. The deer's ears perk up, its head snapping around as it senses him. As the deer bolts away, he chases, amazed by its wild speed. He thrusts his staff forward, intent on capturing this lean meal. Vines erupt from his staff, soaring through the air toward the fleeing deer. The vines quickly ensnare the creature, trapping it in a living net. The deer crashes down, completely immobilized by the powerful magical vines. He approaches the captured creature, his divine staff ready in hand. His staff transforms, reshaping into a sharp, practical hunting knife. With a heavy heart, he quietly apologizes to the beautiful creature. Birds soar across the sky, a calm moment following the hunt's intensity. He begins the butchering, carefully extracting the creature's internal organs. No parasites are found, but he wisely opts not to eat the organs raw. He drags the carcass to the lake to wash it and drain the blood. Wiping sweat from his brow, he feels relief that the initial prep is done. A diagram shows the correct method for cleaning and draining the carcass. He recalls the old hunter's advice about chilling fat to ease skinning. Weaving a net, he feels grateful for the old hunter's rambling tales. He reflects that his current existence resembles survival more than farming. The vine net filled with meat rests on the shore as waves lap gently. He takes a break, enjoying a fruit, realizing he's free to live as he wishes. No deadlines, no work, no relationships. He's liberated in this empty world. He gazes at the stunning sunset over the vast, serene lake. As the sun sets, he decides it's time to return home. A look of quiet determination settles on his face as he readies for tomorrow. A bird glides gracefully above a sprawling, sunlit lake nestled in the mountains. Hashira lounges on the shore, dreaming of crafting a meaningful life. With a bright, resolute grin, he decides it's time to return home. He strides back toward the house he built in the serene, vacant clearing. A mental checklist runs through his mind: Tobihiko, Onoko, and Gravelingo. As dust settles in the woods, shadows loom over his new dwelling. He grunts, straining to ignite a fire using a hand drill. His eyes widen in disbelief and frustration as his efforts crumble. With a final sharp snap, the wooden stick breaks, sending him tumbling. He lies on the ground, reminiscing about how effortlessly his grandfather managed this. Peering out the door, anxiety creeps in as the last light dwindles. He strains to remember ancient fire-starting methods from his school days. In the dimness, a peculiar idea suddenly sparks in his mind. A thought hits him. Could he craft additional hands from wood? Sitting on the floor, he channels his energy, hoping this will work. Thick, woody vines begin to sprout and twist from the floor beneath him. He watches in silent wonder as the vines grow and intertwine. His face reflects pure astonishment as the figure finally forms. A colossal wooden golem looms over him, and he gasps at its size. He kneels, requesting the golem to spin the stick and ignite a fire. The golem gazes down, prepared to lend its incredible strength. Its powerful hands whirl the drill at an astonishing speed. Hashira watches in awe as smoke begins to rise from the wood. He gently breathes on the glowing ember he carefully placed on tinder. A small, precious flame flickers to life, cradled carefully in his hands. He exclaims in pure joy, declaring he has finally mastered fire. Relieved, he settles by the new fire, grateful for a source of light. He jumps, realizing his golem companion is no longer by his side. He spots it huddled in the far corner, away from the flickering flame. He asks the golem if it fears the fire he just conjured. He apologizes for startling it, and sincerely thanks it for its assistance. Outside, smoke from a safe campfire wafts into the starry night. A bright fire crackles safely on the porch of the traditional home. With a banner proclaiming Hashira's meal, he readies for dinner. He inspects his other foraged goods, pondering what else is edible. A close-up reveals various plants, Missouri pink cherries and amaguki. He notes the amaguki root resembles something akin to sugarcane. He thinks the pink cherries look and taste just like the ones he knows. He wants to boil the wild veggies, but he lacks a pot. He resolves to make do with just the fruits for tonight's meal. He pops a pink cherry into his mouth, wearing a happy, contented smile. A sudden brilliant idea strikes him as he continues to savor the fruit. He wonders if he can carve a stone pan using the power of his divine tool. A massive yawn escapes him. The day's labor has finally caught up. He sits on the porch, exhausted, planning to test his new pan idea tomorrow. He envisions a much better bed than the hard, uncomfortable floor. A thick patch of broad, soft leaves rapidly sprouts from the ground. He decides to use the lush pile of leaves as a makeshift futon for now. He flops onto the leafy bed, exclaiming how wonderfully soft it is. He smiles to himself, thinking it was indeed a brilliant idea. From his leafy resting place, he waves farewell to the vigilant golem nearby. The sun rises over the expansive, tree-laden mountain range. Hashira stands on his porch, stretching luxuriously as morning breaks. He muses that the leaf bed was pleasant, despite its faint green aroma. He informs the golem that a busy day lies ahead. He needs to gather more food and is eager to try smithing. But first, he states he has another crucial task to handle. With a handful of seeds, he resolves to plant his inaugural field. He steps outside, prepared to embark on his first genuine farming day. He reshapes his divine staff into a new implement, a robust wooden shovel. He outlines a small test area to kick off his cultivation endeavor. With a powerful thrust, he drives the shovel deep into the soil. It breaks against a root, revealing it's still just ordinary wood. He realizes that even as a divine tool, its composition remains the same. He discards the shattered tool and channels his power directly into the earth. He observes the golem using a hefty log to assist in clearing the land. Surprised, he questions if his companion is genuinely trying to help. The golem nods slightly, affirming its willingness to lend a hand. He conjures a hoe and instructs the golem to work on the other side. By noon, they've cleared an unexpectedly large area of land. Hashira concedes he can't match the golem's relentless stamina. The golem strikes a victorious pose, a crown atop its head. With the field prepared, it's finally time to plant the seeds. He carefully places a single seed into a small hole in the fresh soil. The golem watches intently, a silent apprentice absorbing the farming lesson. Hashira gently covers the newly planted seeds with dark, rich soil. They make their way to the lake's edge to gather water for the field. The golem wades into the shallows while Hashira readies the buckets. The golem effortlessly lifts two large buckets, showcasing its strength. The buckets brim with fresh, clear, sparkling lake water. He uses a vine transformed into a showerhead to water the new seeds. With everything set, he stands before the freshly planted plots. He understands that cultivating apples on Earth requires specialized methods. He ponders what might occur when combined with his divine abilities. The ground starts to tremble and swell as his power seeps into it. A tiny sprout bursts forth from the soil, growing at an astonishing pace. He watches in amazement as a full-size tree emerges in mere seconds. He comments on the incredible, truly remarkable speed of the plant's growth. However, he realizes that such immense power comes with a significant price. The soil crumbles to dust. He decides to wield this power cautiously. Feeling exhausted from the effort, he sits on a rock for a brief rest. He gazes up at the sky through the leaves, savoring the tranquil moment. The golem gently fans him with a large leaf, creating a refreshing breeze. He smiles, grateful for the cool breeze from his kind, considerate companion. He glances at the silent, watchful golem, his expression thoughtful. His thoughts drift to the family he left behind in his previous life. He knows he's dead, yet he can't shake the feeling of having escaped. His gloomy reflections are interrupted by a loud growl from his stomach. He grins, realizing that no matter what, hunger still finds him. Slapping his cheeks, he revitalizes himself, ready for the next challenge. Hashira formulates a fresh strategy, summoning his golem to accompany him. He shares their mission to explore the forest for new crops and hunt. Finding Golem too ordinary, he asks if his companion wants a name. His first idea, Mokotaru, earns a light smack from the golem's branch. Rubbing his head, Hashira ponders why the name was so unwelcome. He pauses, searching for a more fitting name. A new thought hits him, and he cheerfully proposes the name Lent. He glances at his friend, eager to hear its thoughts on Lent. The golem nods firmly, prompting Hashira to happily declare the name chosen. As they stroll, he officially welcomes his newly named ally, Lent, to the team. A scroll records today's milestones, his first cultivation, and a new family member. Hasura shares his plan to carve stone, asking if Lent can carry it back. In a flash, his divine staff morphs into a sharp knife. He positions the wooden blade against a large stone, ready to test its might. The blade cleaves a chunk from the stone with a resounding crack and force. Taken aback, he realizes the tool's immense power demands careful handling. He decides practice is essential and asks Lent to fetch a smaller stone. Lent effortlessly collects and carries a hefty load of stone blocks. Hashira gratefully acknowledges Lent's incredible strength as a tremendous asset. While Hashira carves, he and Lent relax in a serene part of the forest. His focus shifts as he notices Lent has paused its work. He turns to his companion, curious about what it has discovered. Lent points a woody finger at a tree, heavy with unfamiliar dark fruit. Hashiro picks one of the fruits, wondering if he's found a new crop. A diagram reveals the fruit is an orgo featuring a large seed and oily peel. He excitedly realizes he's just uncovered this world's version of an olive. His eyes widen as a brilliant culinary idea suddenly sparks. Nearby, he spots several wild vegetables from his previous world. Holding the fruit and veggies, his mind races with mouth-watering ideas. He envisions himself as a master chef, declaring deep frying the solution. Lacking seasonings, he's still thrilled to savor the wild, bitter tastes. He gathers enough to eat and carefully digs up seedlings for transplanting. He dreams of establishing dedicated fields for his new vegetables and herbs. With their baskets brimming with foraged goods, he decides it's time to return home. They arrive back at the house, which stands peacefully beneath a cloudy sky. Hashira stands in the clearing, staff ready, eager to start a new project. He channels his power, preparing to construct a new building on his land. At his command, thick wooden planks burst from the ground, quickly assembling. He inspects the completed shed, pleased it will serve its intended purpose. He informs Lent he's built a butchering shed and asks it to bring in the deer. Inside the new structure, he directs Lent to place the carcass on the table. He suspends the deer from a hook, ready to begin the butchering task. After changing his shirt, he skillfully starts to skin the animal's hide. While Lent holds the carcass steady, he continues his careful work. With intense focus, he wields his sharp knife to carve the fresh meat. He admits it's tough work, even with Lent's extraordinary strength. He asks his powerful friend to assist him again on the next hunting trip. He contemplates how to preserve the meat, deciding an underground cellar is best. He prepares some wood, gearing up for the next stage of construction. He calls out to Lent, ready to assign his partner a new, crucial task. He requested Lent to excavate a spacious underground storage area in the shed's corner. While Lent digs the cellar, he opts to plant the new seedlings. A small chibi Hashira starts a straightforward tutorial on planting seedlings. First, he instructs, fill the hole with water and allow it to absorb. Next, place the seedling carefully, ensuring the fragile roots remain intact. Then, gently pack the soil around the base of the newly placed seedling. Finally, he gives the plant another thorough watering to help it adjust. For the finishing touch, he prepares to activate his special divine ability. He channels his growth-enhancing power, infusing divine energy into the earth. The tiny plants emit a soft glow as they soak up the life-giving magic. Chibi Hashira beams, encouraging his new plants to grow strong. He inspects his work, noting 8 different types of crops flourishing. He contemplates expanding his fields further, his divine tool ready. The scene shifts, indicating the passage of time as the day progresses. As dusk approaches, the sun begins to dip behind the house's roof. Lent steps out of the shed, and Hashira inquires if the cellar is complete. He observes Lent's proud stance, realizing it must be satisfied with its work. With a grin, he eagerly requests to see the outcome of Lent's efforts. He is amazed by the impressive and spacious cellar that Lent has built. He commends his friend for constructing such a magnificent and sturdy storeroom. He instructs Lent to bring down the meat after he sets up some storage shelves. He shivers, remarking on how delightfully cool the underground area feels. He quickly completes the shelves, eager to start preparing dinner. With the cellar finished, he shuts the door, ready for the evening meal. The scene fades, transitioning from the day's labor to the evening's feast. Back inside, Hashira excitedly announces that he's getting tonight's dinner ready. With a triumphant gesture, he reveals a magnificent cut of deer meat for the meal. He sits in joyful anticipation, thrilled to finally enjoy a proper meat dish. Lent stands nearby, wisely noting that the only thing missing is salt and pepper. He decides to grill the meat on a hot stone slab using the new origo fruit. He remembers that olives need processing with water, a step he must skip for now. He admits that attempting to crush the hard fruit by hand was a foolish idea. He ponders the need for stone and brute strength, and an idea starts to form. He glances at his powerful companion, realizing he has the perfect solution. He asks Lent to crush the fruit, praising his friend for being so dependable. He then requests Lent to gather the extracted oil in a wooden bowl. While Lent works, he decides to prepare the wild vegetables as a side dish. He checks on a stone pot, noting that it's boiling nicely, though it heats slowly. He is pleased that the boiling water can serve both cooking and sterilizing. He considers the best method to prepare the vegetables, wishing for salt or lye. He opts to simply boil the Ionico and Tobihiko he gathered earlier. In the background, Lent effortlessly crushes the tough origo fruit with a powerful squeeze. He thanks his partner, amazed by its truly monstrous strength. He accepts the bowl of oil, noticing a bit of peel mixed in. After boiling the vegetables, he carefully wrings out the excess water. He begins cooking the main dish, drizzling the fresh oil onto the hot stone. The oil meets the heated slab, erupting in a loud and satisfying sizzle. He grins with pure joy, exclaiming what a delightful sound it is. He notes that managing the temperature on a simple stone slab is quite challenging. The scene concludes, leaving the delicious meal to cook over the fire. With a beaming smile of victory, Hashira declares his meal is finally ready. He showcases his dish, deer grilled in orgo oil accompanied by boiled veggies. Joining his hands, he prepares to express gratitude for the meal. He thoughtfully inquires if Lent, the golem who can't eat, would like some water. Lent's large wooden feet make a gentle splash as they dip into the water. Hashira correctly infers that Lent survives on water and naturally sunlight. With Lent present, it feels as if they are sharing this meal together. Filled with gratitude, he claps his hands to officially commence the meal. Chopsticks in hand, he opts to sample the wild vegetables first. He carefully lifts a piece of the freshly boiled alnico. He takes a crisp bite of the tender vegetable. Delight fills him as he enjoys its crunchy texture and refined sweetness. Sampling the tobihiko, he notes its distinct aroma and bitterness, perfect for sake. At last, he turns to the main dish, the glistening deer meat. He apologizes to the goddess Elphira for using her divine tool as a knife. Pushing aside his guilt, he eagerly wonders about the steak's doneness. He takes a generous, satisfying bite of the perfectly grilled meat. His eyes widen in shock as he exclaims how incredibly tender it is. Lent seems to concur, commenting on the meat's clean flavor and absence of gaminess. Hashira resolves to find a way to improve the oil's bitter aftertaste. He smiles contentedly, relishing the delicious results of his efforts. He muses that his life resembles more of a survival camping trip than farming. He wonders if he will someday feel nostalgic for these bold, wild flavors. As the moon rises high, he reflects on the day's achievements. The following morning, Hashira stands in the forest, contemplating his next big project. With a determined grunt, he gets ready to set his new plan in motion. He jumps onto a massive log, attempting the challenging skill of log rolling. He thinks he can extend the log for balance, but his feet slip. With a cry of surprise, he flails his arms, trying to regain his footing. He tumbles off the spinning log, letting out a comical, alarmed shout. Landing on his back, he sighs, admitting he completely lost his balance. He muses that mastering this skill would simplify moving timber. He decides he will need Lent's assistance to stabilize the log for practice. Dusting himself off, he confidently vows to try again another time. He shifts his focus back to the more familiar task of farming. At his command, a single weed begins to wiggle in the soil. The weed obediently extracts its roots from the earth. Soon, all the weeds in the field uproot themselves at his silent command. Since he can control plants, he realizes weeding is a breeze. He smiles, pleased to see his crops thriving and robust. He marvels at how his divine blessing allows him to harvest in mere days. While fruit trees take longer, he remains amazed by their swift growth. He recalls his surprise after boiling and tasting his first homegrown vegetables. He discovered that his crops were far tastier than their wild counterparts. He wonders if this enhanced flavor is a result of his divine blessing. He concludes that as long as the crops taste great, the reason is irrelevant. His motivation peaks as he decides to expand the fields before noon. He stretches, ready to give it his all and dive back into work. However, the reality of the task ahead gives him a moment of hesitation. He realizes that tilling the new land alone is truly backbreaking labor. He surveys the fields, recognizing the challenges that come with farming. Reminding himself of his blessing's aid, he resolves to keep pushing forward. A delightful smoky scent drifts through the air, piquing his curiosity. He remarks on the pleasant aroma, allowing it to guide him. Choosing to take a break, he follows the smoke to inspect his work. The smoke originates from a small wooden smokehouse he built recently. He expresses gratitude to his friend Lent for keeping an eye on the smokehouse. With a hint of anxiety, he opens the door, hoping for a successful outcome. Inside, he discovers perfectly smoked meat haunches, filling him with joy. He asks Lent to assist in moving the meat to a well-ventilated area for drying. He cheerfully notes that the smoked meat will be ready for consumption by tomorrow. He ponders how long this method of preservation will keep the meat fresh. Suddenly, an intense craving for seasoning overwhelms him. He exclaims that he has never desired sea salt this much before. He anxiously wonders if he can find rock salt or salty herbs nearby. He opts for a quick scouting trip across the lake. He asks his dependable companion, Lent, to fetch a basket for foraging. He tells Lent they'll explore and return if they find nothing. As the sun begins to set, the two friends embark on their adventure. They navigate through an unfamiliar section of the forest, thick with weeds. Hashira halts, suddenly intrigued by something in the underbrush. His divine blessing reveals 3 types of valuable medicinal herbs. He realizes these aren't just weeds, they're a natural pharmacy. A smile spreads across his face, knowing his blessing helps him identify and prepare them. He resolves to establish a dedicated field for these medicinal herbs. Carefully, he begins to dig up a few specimens to take home. While he works, a familiar pungent scent wafts toward him. His eyes widen in shock as he recognizes the impossible fragrance. He joyfully identifies the plant as dokudami, a powerful herb from his previous life. Nostalgic happiness washes over him at this unexpected and comforting find. He fondly remembers his grandmother brewing dokudami tea whenever he was unwell. He feels immense gratitude for this small, comforting connection to his past. He gently places the precious plants into his basket for later transplantation. He feels fortunate to have discovered such useful herbs that will provide comfort. He decides to gather only what he needs today and return later. His gaze then lands on a peculiar, oddly shaped fruit hanging from a tree. It resembles a large, leafy bud, and he wonders if it's filled with cotton. His innate knowledge identifies it as the mochi fruit, a substitute for bread. He's ecstatic, having accepted a life without rice or bread. He peels back the husk, revealing a soft, dough-like substance inside. He pokes the squishy interior, noting its distinct, firm texture. It resembles mochi, but it doesn't seem very stretchy. With an eager grin, he decides it's time for a taste test. He takes a bite and is thrilled by its gentle, pleasant sweetness. He marvels that, even raw, it tastes just like fresh rice flour bread. His mind races with culinary possibilities, from grilling to making udon. He resolves to gather more to plant in a new mochi field. An idea strikes him. This will make a perfect side dish. Happily collecting the fruit, he eagerly anticipates tomorrow. But as he slings the basket over his shoulder, he suddenly frowns. Hashira is hit with disgust, realizing he reeks of smoke and sweat. His nightly scrubs with a simple gourd sponge have lost their effectiveness. An instinctual urge takes hold. He declares he needs a proper bath. With great excitement, he shares his ambitious plan with his golem friend, Lent. Beaming, he informs Lent that they're headed to the Great Lake. The stoic golem Lent merely tilts its head, silently curious. They reach the edge of a vast, shimmering lake under a cloudy sky. Hashira starts his task, shaping thick wooden planks with his divine staff. He expresses his goal to create a bathtub spacious enough to stretch out. Stepping back, he evaluates his creation, finalizing the tub's dimensions. He tells Lent to start filling the newly built tub with lake water. Deciding to be less dependent on Lent, he opts to start the fire himself. He kneels down, focusing intently on working the fire drill. With gritted teeth, he pours all his energy into igniting the tinder. He leans into the motion, determined to conquer this skill. His eyes widen as a thick cloud of smoke begins to rise. The smoke ascends, a slender column against the expansive sky. Finally, a small flame flickers to life among the dry twigs. Overwhelmed with joy, he celebrates, proud to have created fire alone. He turns to Lent, asking if his companion notices his growth. Next, he tosses several smooth stones into the blazing campfire. He waits for the stones to glow a perfect red from the heat. Using tongs, he drops a heated stone into the tub of water. The stone hits the water with a loud sizzle, a process he repeats. He adds the finishing touch, placing a wooden duckboard for easy access. With a grand gesture, he proudly declares his outdoor bath is finished. He joyfully sheds his clothes, eager to enjoy his new creation. Testing the water with a small bucket, he yelps at the surprising heat. With a deep sigh of satisfaction, he sinks into the perfectly warmed water. He closes his eyes in pure bliss, murmuring about the bath's delight. Splashing warm water on his face, he feels completely rejuvenated. Gazing at the expansive scenery, he muses that a bath cleanses the soul. The wide view captures him soaking peacefully, with Lent waiting nearby. He comments that the stunning view feels like a luxurious hot spring. He resolves to make this a daily habit to stay clean and ease his fatigue. Noticing Lent's intense gaze, he sees its wooden head tilted in curiosity. He asks his golem friend if it might want to join him in the bath. With a warm grin, he offers to switch places and wash Lent first. Standing beside the golem, he pours a bucket of water over its wooden body. He explains the etiquette of rinsing off dirt before entering the tub. Lent steps into the bath with a huge splash, relishing the warm water. Water spills over the edge of the tub as the massive golem settles in. Hashira inquires about his friend's first bath, and Lent gives a clear thumbs up. He smiles, pleased to see his powerful companion looking completely content. Later, he hangs their clothes to dry, planning to bathe elsewhere tomorrow. Morning breaks with the sound of splashing water from the lakeside. Carrying a bucket, Hashira calls out to Lent, announcing it's time to head home. He notices Lent staring at something and asks if it has found another discovery. Peeking through the foliage, his eyes widen in sudden complete shock. A young woman with long, pale blonde hair lies unconscious on the ground. He kneels next to her, noticing her pointed ears and questioning if she might be an elf. He remembers Gadar mentioning that various non-human species exist in this realm. Leaning closer to the unconscious woman, concern fills his face. Alarm replaces his concern as he spots a dark, bloody gash on her side. In shock, he shouts, realizing the young woman is severely hurt. He grips her arm, his expression hardening with newfound determination. He understands his basic herbs won't suffice. She needs superior medicine. Gently, he attempts to lift her, gauging the seriousness of her injuries. Her face is pale, glistening with sweat, a clear sign of her dire condition. He turns to Lent, requesting his strong friend to carry her carefully. Determination sets on his face. He knows action is required now. He tells Lent to brace a log from behind as he gets ready to steer it. His fist clenches, prepared to set his desperate rescue plan in motion. With a resolute nod, he gets ready to launch their makeshift vessel. They speed across the water, Hashira shouting that they're racing to save her. In a flashback, the elf dashes through the forest, gasping for air. She believes she's escaped, but a sharp pain from her wound makes her wince. Clutching her side, she realizes the injury from an armored bear is severe. Leaning against a tree, she knows she must stop the bleeding, but feels too weak. A single drop of her blood falls from her boot onto the forest floor. She collapses to her knees, thinking she can't die like this. Her strength finally fails, and she falls unconscious to the ground. Her last conscious thought is a faint wish for someone to find her. She whispers a final, desperate call for help before darkness envelops her. She jolts awake with a sharp gasp, her eyes wide in confusion. Sitting up, disoriented and touching her head, she wonders what happened. Horror washes over her as she looks down, realizing her clothes are missing. She spots Hashira by a fire and asks if he is finally woken up. He smiles, relieved she's awake, but his words are interrupted by her sudden move. With a furious shout, she lunges at him, tackling him to the wooden floor. Pinning him down, she demands to know who he is and his intentions. She gasps as a massive wooden hand suddenly appears right next to her. The sudden strain is too much for her body, and she cries out in pain. Hashira watches in complete astonishment as the situation spirals out of control. Lent's powerful vines gently yet firmly wrap around the elf, lifting her away. Hashira thanks Lent for the rescue and urges the elf to calm down and listen. Furiously, she accuses him of stripping her and plotting unspeakable acts. He scratches his head, apologizing for the confusion about the knife. He reassures her that the knife isn't a weapon and he means her no harm. He explains he found her by the river, bleeding and growing cold. Her eyes widen as she recalls being attacked in the great forest of death. She touches her side, stunned to find that the wound no longer pains her. He clarifies that it was Lent, not him, who undressed her for her comfort. Calmly, he instructs Lent to release its grip on the now bewildered elf. The thick wooden vines retract, freeing her from their gentle yet firm hold. She clutches the animal hide around her, her expression shifting to dawning realization. Hashira observes her, a slight blush creeping onto his face as she processes everything. The elf's gaze shifts to her side, her eyes wide with sheer disbelief. She discovers that the serious wound from the armored bear has completely vanished. Staring in silence at her perfectly healed skin, she struggles to grasp the miracle. Hashira turns, grinning, and asks if she's ready to hear him out. The scene shifts to his rooftop as he starts sharing his tale. Luludia clutches the jar, realizing this miraculous remedy saved her life. She remarks to Hashira that it's odd, as regular medicine wouldn't mend such a wound. He gives an awkward smile, struggling to articulate his extraordinary divine gifts. Luludia's gaze shifts to the wooden knife lying by the fire pit. She gestures to a half-carved stone, asking if he crafted it with that knife. He happily shows how to carve a cup from the stone using the wooden blade. Luludia is left speechless, stuttering that a wooden knife can't do that. She stares in disbelief, her perception of reality completely shattered. Hashira notices her silence and inquires if something's amiss. Filled with regret, she bows deeply, apologizing for her earlier rudeness. He panics, urging her to lift her head, claiming he shares the blame. He suggests that since they're both okay, they should just let it go. He introduces himself as Hashira, inviting her to use his name freely. She reciprocates, introducing herself as Luludia, happy to meet him. She playfully clarifies that she's a high elf, not just any elf. She explains that high elves enjoy longer lifespans and possess greater magical abilities. Still, she admits she couldn't stand against the beasts of the great forest of death. Achibi Hashira watches, puzzled by the strange monster names. He realizes she's referring to their current location, the notorious forest. She affirms this, revealing a mental map of the Demon Kingdom's 4 great forests. She expresses surprise that he lived here without knowing. He sheepishly explains. Hashira redirects the question, asking why she ventured here. She blushes, confessing she came to admire the beautiful scenery on a whim. She defensively adds that long lives can become quite dull. Hashira is bewildered by her impulsiveness as she tries to regain her composure. Suddenly, he recalls something she mentioned earlier, apologizing for interrupting. He asks her what kind of monster a Guyanot is. In reply, she simply points to the silent golem standing beside him. Hashira is baffled by her gesture, cupping his ear as if he misheard. He glances at the flower-adorned wooden figure next to him. He asks if she means Len, and she confirms he is indeed a Guyanot. He insists it's merely a wood golem, but she maintains it's a Guyanot. She explains that Guyanots are spirits that protect nature. Hashira gazes at Lent with newfound admiration, calling him remarkable. Leludia muses that living here wouldn't be so bad with a Guyanot around. She then spots the deer hide, explaining it's from a perilous horned deer. Hashira is astonished to learn he hunted it without knowing its true strength. He admits he had no clue what he was up against. Regardless, he points out that her body isn't fully healed yet. He kindly invites her to stay at his home a bit longer. Leludia's face brightens with joy, thanking him for the generous offer. She then mentions she has a request of her own. She wishes to explore the forest and believes she can with his assistance. In return for his protection, she promises to fulfill any request he has. Hashira becomes flustered, questioning what she means by anything. He smiles, mentioning he was just seeking help with his smoking project. Leludia is taken aback, repeating the word smoking with intrigue. She eagerly agrees to assist, and he offers to show her around the house. The caption reveals that a high elf is now residing with them. The following morning, an arrow soars through the air toward a distant mark. Hashira stands poised, bow drawn, honing his archery skills in the morning glow. He glances at his target, satisfied that his first shot of the day hit well. The arrow thuds into the bullseye, a gratifying sound. Lent, serving as the target stand, gives a sparkling thumbs up. Hashira chuckles, enjoying the moment, just as Leludia sneaks up behind him. She greets both Hashira and Lent, inquiring if they had a good night's sleep. She beams, mentioning the leaf bed was soft and the deerskin blanket cozy. She adds that conversing with someone other than the gods is refreshing. Surprised by the archery range, he casually mentions it's merely a pastime. She observes the house's unique design, which she hadn't noticed the night before. Amazed by his sturdy construction, she asks if he's an architect. He shakes his head, clarifying that he built it using his unique ability. Leludia watches with intrigue as he gets ready to showcase his power. He makes a tree branch grow and twist independently, leaving her astonished. He explains his ability to manipulate plants, shaping their growth at will. Noticing her sudden shift in mood, he asks what's troubling her. She steps back, her face now reflecting awe and respect. She whispers that he commands a Guyanot revered by the trees. She wonders if he is a great spirit, but he quickly refutes it. She explains that elves hold such beings in high regard, but he insists he's just ordinary. He tells her to treat Lent like any other creature, and she nervously agrees. He offers to show her his fields, but she asks him to hold on. Feeling a bit stiff, she asks if she can try drawing his bow. He readily agrees, noting that she is an elf, after all. He remarks that it's just as he envisioned it would be. She smiles playfully, asking what he means by that. She inquires if she can borrow the bow, to which he responds affirmatively. He hands it over, apologizing for its amateur craftsmanship. She takes the bow delicately, her expression warm and appreciative. She thanks him, saying that while rough, it's a beautifully crafted weapon. He asks if she was unarmed when he found her, and she confirms. She explains that her own bow was destroyed by an armored bear. Hashira watches with understanding, realizing the peril she faced. Leludia takes her stance, her focus unwavering as she draws the bowstring. The arrow launches from the bow with astonishing speed, leaving a luminous trail. Her eyes widen with concentration as she tracks the arrow's flight. The arrow collides with the previous one, splitting it cleanly in two. Hashira observes from afar, amazed by her remarkable display of talent. She comments that it's a familiar habit of hers. She releases a second arrow, this one even swifter and more powerful. The second arrow shatters the target's center, sending splinters flying. Hashira praises her extraordinary skill, hands clasped in admiration. She humbly replies that any elf could achieve the same, given her long life. An idea sparks in Hashira's mind, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. He asks if she would teach him, admitting he struggles to hit the target. He takes his position and releases an arrow, attempting to follow her guidance. The arrow falls woefully short, kicking up a cloud of dust. He sighs, realizing it's tougher than it looks, while she thinks he's worse than she expected. Leludia kicked off her archery training, beginning with the basics of stance. She adjusted his posture, instructing him to keep his core aligned. She elaborated on the correct elbow bend needed for drawing the bow. Hashira, trying to follow along, asked if he was doing it right. Leludia swiftly corrected him, noting that his arm was overly extended. She stepped closer, refining his form and reminding him to keep the arrow steady. Hashira felt flustered by her closeness and the sweet aroma of her perfume. Internally, he scolded himself, striving to concentrate on her earnest teachings. She told him to hold the stance and simply let his fingers go. With determination, Pashira aimed, concentrating on her guidance. He released the arrow, watching it speed toward the wooden target. The arrow hit the target with a satisfying thud, landing much closer to the center. He turned back, astonished by the sudden improvement in his aim. He declared it his best shot yet, feeling a genuine difference. Grateful, he thanked her and readied himself for another attempt, repeating her tips. However, his next shot veered off course, missing the target in a comical arc. Hashira admitted that mastering this quickly was proving difficult. A little doodle illustrated his thought that this was quite a challenge. Out of nowhere, an arrow hit the bullseye perfectly, catching them both off guard. They turned to find Lent, who had been observing them. The golem gave a victorious thumbs up, having triumphed in their impromptu contest. Luludia playfully teased that Lent was a far superior archer than Hashira. After their practice, Hashir shifted his focus back to their breakfast. He announced that with the fields taken care of, it was time to eat. He presented a basket filled with fresh vegetables, asking if Luludia recognized any. She picked up an unusual bulbous fruit, inquiring about its identity. He explained it was a mochi fruit, a staple in their diet. At that moment, Luludia's stomach let out a loud, embarrassing growl. Hashira chuckled, suggesting he explain the rest while they enjoyed their meal. He demonstrated how to peel the skin to access the white part inside. She took a large, curious bite of the soft, doughy fruit. Her eyes lit up as she proclaimed it was incredibly chewy and tasty. She adored its refined sweetness, preferring it over the town's bread. Hesher was pleased she enjoyed it, assuring her there was plenty more. Their meal also featured bowls of freshly gathered wild greens. Hashira recalled that she had previously eaten the Yiroi vegetables. He asked her to confirm if his cultivated version was tastier. She eagerly agreed, ready to judge his farming prowess. She took a bite, her eyes widening in surprise at the flavor. She exclaimed it was far superior to what she had tasted before. Luludia speculated it must be due to his exceptional farming techniques. He credited the flavor to the divine blessing of the goddess Elphira. Luludia asked if she could have another mochi fruit to try it grilled. She eagerly requested a grilled one, certain it would be delightful. Hashira reminded her that even though her wound was healed, she needed to eat. He encouraged her to eat well to prepare for their afternoon adventure. Luludia hugged the mochi fruit, thrilled by its deliciousness. She felt excited to explore, feeling secure with Hashiru and Lin. As they got ready to leave, she asked to borrow his bow for safety. She blushed slightly as she accepted his warning not to overdo it. Hashira observed her chewing, sensing she was primed for small prey. They geared up to venture into the vast, uncharted woods. Hashira inquired about her readiness, and she assured him she was good to go. With everything set, he declared it was time to head out. They traveled beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient giant. Luludia gazed upward in wonder, remarking on the tree's immense size. Hashira asked if she appreciated nature, to which she replied affirmatively. She shared that elves naturally feel a sense of tranquility in the woods. He wondered if her previous home was similarly abundant in nature. She confirmed it was a vast forest, but nothing on this scale. She mentioned her weariness of a monotonous life, prompting her travels. Luludia then redirected the conversation, asking about his origins. Hashira took a moment, contemplating how to portray his former world. He painted a picture of a lively, crowded, and often paradoxical realm. It was a land filled with bustling metropolises and modern luxuries. Luludia was taken aback by his depiction, labeling it a nightmarish place. He explained that his beloved family helped him endure it all. The weight of his tale left Luludia both speechless and worried. She offered a soft, tentative apology for broaching a painful subject. He realized that, given his demise, it felt more like abandonment here. He dismissed it, reassuring her not to fret about it. Curiosity piqued, she asked what he envisioned elven life to be. She pictured them residing in tree homes, hollowing logs for shelter. He speculated their diet leaned heavily towards meat, but she corrected him. She was about to illustrate their culinary preferences. Suddenly, her sharp eyes caught sight of a rabbit in the distance. The rabbit lounged in a small clearing, blissfully unaware of its observer. Hashira marveled at her ability to spot it from such a distance. She asked if she could hunt it, since it was just an ordinary animal. He eagerly agreed, thrilled at the prospect of more meat for their meal. With speed and skill, she knocked an arrow, readying her shot. With flawless form and intense concentration, she pulled back the bowstring. She released the arrow, which zipped through the air with blinding speed. The arrow sliced through the trees, homing in on its unsuspecting prey. The rabbit dropped instantly, struck down by her expertly aimed shot. Hashira commended her remarkable talent, and she smiled in gratitude. She then inquired how he typically hunted in such a thick forest. He explained that he traps them using the trees, focusing on birds. He promised to demonstrate what he meant by that. A branch shot out, forming a cage around the bird, startling Luludia. He triumphantly displayed the captured bird, its cage raised high. Luludia stared in disbelief, a feather floating down past her face. She admitted that in this forest, Hashira was the top hunter. As they moved on, a sweet scent drifted through the air. Luludia commented on the delightful fragrance, inhaling deeply. She envisioned finding honey, while he thought of drizzling it over fruit. She closed her eyes, trying to locate the source of the aroma. She discovered the source, eagerly announcing it was just ahead. She parted the bushes, ready to uncover the source of the scent. They both gaped, mouths agape in utter shock and horror. Luludia gapes in disbelief, recognizing the enormous being as a deadly plant predator. It's described as a flesh-eating beast that attracts its victims with a tempting aroma. Hashira, however, observes calmly that this threatening creature is merely a trap. Luludia urgently insists he should flee, warning that an attack is imminent. Unperturbed, Hashira approaches, confident that this specific plant poses no threat. The plant's petals unfold, revealing a horrifying mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. It lunges forward with astonishing speed, its thorny vines slicing through the air. Luludia screams in fear as the vines lash out, ready to strike. With a serious demeanor, Hashira raises a hand toward the beast. He commands the attacking vines to halt, and they freeze mid-strike. Luludia gasps in disbelief, realizing he can manipulate the plant monster. With a knowing grin, Hashira affirms that this is indeed true. He points out that the delightful fragrance likely comes from its pink blossoms. He acknowledges its vicious nature, but sees potential in the creature. He asks Luludia if it could serve as a guardian for their fields. He then addresses the plant, inviting it to join them. He promises to nurture it if it agrees to safeguard their farm. The enormous plant begins to curl inward, its leaves and vines retracting. It shrinks into a small, portable bulb and falls to the ground. Hashira wonders if it's all right to plant it, while Luludia looks utterly confused. He decides they should collect their hunted rabbit before heading home. Back at their homestead, the familiar roof stands against a clear blue sky. Hashira hovers over a freshly turned mound, ready to unleash his unique skill. He places his hands on the soil, channeling his growth-enhancing ability. A tiny sprout bursts forth from the ground, shimmering with vibrant energy. The plant bulb expands rapidly, quickly regaining its full size. Its fearsome mouth is replaced by an unexpectedly cute, frowny face. Luludia finds it charming and asks if the newly emerged creature remembers them. The revived killer plant nods firmly, confirming her question. Hasura begins to formally introduce himself and the high elf, Luludia. He then presents the large wooden golem standing behind him, named Lent. He officially requests the plant to protect their fields from pests and threats. The plant responds with a cheerful grin and a confirming wiggle. A single vine extends, dropping a peculiar seed into Hashira's hands. Both he and Luludia wonder what kind of strange seed it might be. An informational panel reveals it as a special insect-repelling seed. Hashira is thrilled by the useful gift and decides to plant it right away. With a touch of his power, a small plant familiar sprouts from the earth. Luludia is instantly enchanted, noting how different it is from its parent. The familiar's vine suddenly lashes out, startling her. She gasps in surprise as it playfully taps her cheek. The little creature nuzzles her hand, making her laugh, flustered by the moment. That night, beneath a starry sky, they gather near the house. Luludia calls out to Hashira, saying she has something to talk about. He asks what's on her mind, mentioning the rabbit meat is nearly ready. She briefly gets distracted, exclaiming how delicious the cooking food looks. She shows him a handful of sparkling crystals she discovered in the shed. Hashira remembers that these precious magic stones drop from slain monsters. Luludia explains they are used to craft weapons and armor. She suddenly realizes that Hashira likely cannot sense the magic within them. He cheerfully acknowledges her guess, confessing his inability to wield magic. Luludia finally grasps why he had to create fire manually. She finds it odd that he possesses such power while he questions his own skills. She proposes testing his magical abilities and requests his hand. Taking his hand, she focuses as a gentle glow surrounds them. She concludes he has a strong affinity for water, wind, and earth magic. He winces, realizing his poor connection to fire explains his past difficulties. An empty bowl rests next to the fire pit, their meal now complete. Hashira inquires how he should practice his newly discovered magic. She clarifies that he must first recognize the magic within himself. He admits he has never sensed it, prompting her to offer a demonstration. He eagerly accepts her help, asking her to teach him. They also agree to keep up with his archery training. The scene transitions to the foreboding castle of the Demon King, Belphegor. The castle's jagged silhouette looms against a stormy sky. A voice echoes from within the castle, calling for the princess. An attendant frantically scours the vacant halls, shouting her name. The demon princess, Carmilla, complains about her relentless attendant, Clea. The attendant continues her frantic search, her voice resonating through the corridors. Carmilla realizes she'll be discovered if she lingers in the hallway any longer. She decides to make a break for it, planning to escape outside for a bit. As she dashes away, Clea spots her from further down the hall. Clea exclaims in both relief and exasperation, having finally located the princess. Carmilla realizes she's been caught and playfully sticks out her tongue. She leaps away, but Clea is right behind her, determined to catch up. Clea orders 2 winged guards in armor to capture the fleeing princess. The guards charge forward with their spears, intent on seizing her. Carmilla smirks, completely unfazed by the guards rushing toward her. She raises a hand, effortlessly summoning a swirl of potent dark magic. Her fingers are ready to unleash a devastating and overwhelming strike. With a casual flick, she sends the guards flying in a whirlwind of energy. Clea remarks that the lower-ranked soldiers stand no chance against her. Carmilla floats above the castle, bored and seeking some thrill. An idea hits her. The great forest of death must have intriguing playmates. Clea shouts in alarm, asking where the princess thinks she's going now. Carmilla soars away, cheerfully declaring she's off to the forest to have fun. The scene shifts back to Hashira's tranquil home, nestled in the expansive forest. Hashira sits on the porch, starting his first lesson in magic manipulation. He closes his eyes, attempting to focus and gather magic at his fingertips. Luludia explains that the next step is to distribute that energy throughout his body. She emphasizes that achieving full conscious control over this flow is the ultimate aim. A thin panel reveals the serene, sunlit edge of the wooden porch. Hashira strains, finding even this initial step incredibly challenging. A tiny, unstable spark of magic flickers at his fingertip before disappearing. He reflects that for a former salaryman, merely sensing magic is a step up. Sometime later, they return from a hunt, bringing back a large horned boar. Luludia notes that the Devil Fang monster was taken down with a single punch from Lent. Hashira thanks Lent for its effort and asks it to prepare the animal. Luludia hands him a pouch filled with the magical stones they collected during the hunt. He admires a large, sparkling crystal, noting its likely high value. Startled, Hashira drops the pouch, scattering the precious magical stones he carries. The sparkling gems cascade through the air, descending toward the fertile earth. They touch down softly on the ground beside the crops. Luludia gasps, her hand flying to her mouth in sheer disbelief. The earth ripples like a wave, devouring the magic stones in one swift motion. Hashira stares in disbelief, his expression frozen in shock at the surreal scene. He drops to his knees, exclaiming that the ground has consumed the stones. He watches, bewildered, as a new phenomenon begins to unfold. A nearby dichotomy plant suddenly bursts forth, growing at an astonishing rate. He asks Luludia if the crop has just expanded, puzzled by the occurrence. He crouches down, meticulously examining the soil surrounding the thriving plant. He discovers that the soil remains rich in essential nutrients. Unlike his own abilities, the stones must be transforming magic into pure sustenance. Luludia marvels at how the magic stones are turning into fertilizer for his fields. He inquires if this is typical, but she assures him it's a unique trait of his land. He resolves to use the lesser stones for the crops moving forward. A small plant familiar tugs at his sleeve, seeking something. He asks if it desires the stones, and the creature nods enthusiastically. Luludia smiles, remarking that it's fitting for its food to be magical energy. He can now utilize the stones as fertilizer after every harvest. He contemplates this unexpected yet incredibly beneficial revelation for their farm. Unseen, a winged figure watches them from a lofty perch. She calls down to them with a commanding shout. A beam of light shines down as the enigmatic girl descends. She lands gracefully, demanding to know what they are doing here. Hashira is taken aback, questioning why a child is floating there. Leludia, however, instantly recognizes the newcomer as a demon. She senses that this demon holds significant power and rank. Leludia fears that the girl may even surpass her own strength. The girl asks if they didn't hear her inquiry about their activities. Hashira steps forward, clarifying that they are merely tending to their fields. He introduces himself as Hashira, offering his name to the visitor. Leludia follows suit, stating her name is Luludia. The girl finds it intriguing that a human and a high elf coexist. She grandly presents herself as Carmilla, the daughter of the proud demon king. Leludia and Hashira are left speechless, struggling to grasp the situation. Leludia whispers that at least the princess seems open to conversation. Carmilla surveys the clearing, her curiosity piqued by their homestead. She exclaims in astonishment, noticing they even have a house here. She finds it fascinating that they reside in the vast forest. Hashira offers her a taste of their crops, and she eagerly accepts. He thinks she's just an ordinary child, despite her demonic nature. He guides her toward the trees, bearing the peculiar mochi fruit. He explains this is their staple food and asks if she's familiar with it. He gently plucks one of the ripe, soft fruits from the branch. With skilled hands, he removes the fibrous outer layer. He offers her the soft white interior, encouraging her to give it a try. She takes it, her eyes widening at its unexpectedly soft feel. She exclaims with joy at how incredibly soft the fruit is. With a skeptical look, she prepares to take her first bite. With a decisive bite, she sinks her fangs into the fruit. Her eyes sparkle like crosses as the delightful taste overwhelms her. "Delicious," she exclaims, immediately inquiring if there's more. He suggests wild greens, but she quickly declines, loathing them. He muses that she truly behaves like a child. Her gaze shifts to the trees laden with gravolingo fruit. She states she prefers those much more than vegetables. Leludia panics, trying to prevent her from eating the unripe fruit. Hashira calmly reassures Leludia that it's fine to let her try. He patiently informs Carmilla that the fruit isn't ripe yet. She remains undeterred, insisting she wants to eat fruit now. He sighs, conceding, and picks one for her. He presents the pale green fruit to the eager princess. Without a moment's pause, she takes a big, crunchy bite. The powerful flavor hits her, leaving her stunned and blushing. She exclaims in wonder, asking what this incredibly tasty thing is. Hashira offers a piece to Luludia so she can experience it too. They agree it's tasty, but will be even better when fully ripe. Carmilla can't fathom that this isn't even its best flavor. Hashira beams, pleased to hear such compliments. A satisfied smile spreads across his face. Luludia concurs that sharing happiness with others is far more rewarding. Carmilla falls quiet, a contemplative, resolute expression on her face. She licks her lips, a predatory grin forming. "All right," she announces to the sky. "I've made my decision." She spins around, declaring that this place now belongs to her. Hashira and Luludia can only stare, questioning her sudden proclamation. "The Demon King's daughter is quite the unreasonable girl." Luludia asks again what she meant by her abrupt statement. She reiterates her claim, stating this place is now hers. Hesher seeks clarification, wanting to understand her intentions. She explains they will cultivate these delightful crops for her. Hashira realizes she isn't proposing to buy or hire them. She calls it an honor to serve the daughter of the Demon King. Luludia steps forward, angered, telling her to hold on a moment. She stands before the princess, ready to contest the demand. She argues they have no right to unilaterally claim their land. Hashira observes as his elven friend defends their territory. Carmilla's expression darkens, completely unfazed by the argument. She brushes off the argument, uninterested in such complexities. Her eyes narrow as she prepares to assert her will with force. She unleashes a surge of power, declaring she simply wants it. Hashira feels a sharp sensation, realizing this is her true magic. This overwhelming power truly suits the daughter of the Demon King. Yet he clenches his fist, his determination solidifying. He shouts his refusal, his voice echoing with defiance. He recalls all the effort they invested in their fields. He proclaims he will never accept such a tyrannical demand. A sinister smile creeps across Carmilla's face as she asks, "Is that so?" The air crackles with dark energy as the princess readies to strike. Carmilla proclaims from above, "I'll make you listen one way or another." A deluge of dark, magical flames descends upon the tranquil fields. The mochi trees are swiftly consumed by a fierce, raging blaze. Hashira and Luludia can only stand by as their cherished crops turn to ash. In disbelief, Luludia screams, questioning how she could commit such an atrocity. Hashira lunges forward, desperately attempting to reach the inferno. Frustration spills over as a thick vine bursts forth from his palm. This vine is a fierce manifestation of his will ready for combat. The beloved tree's charred branches crack and tumble into the flames. He turns to Luludia, urgently urging her to put out the fire. Carmilla hovers above the chaos, casually taunting them. In a fit of rage, Hashira demands to know if this was her scheme all along. She coldly suggests they can always grow more if these are lost. Her utter lack of guilt ignites a chilling fury within Hashira. He stands poised, his divine staff gripped tightly, ready to retaliate. Carmilla smirks, fangs bared, asking if he's prepared for a confrontation. With a swift gesture, Hashira thrusts his hand forward, unleashing his might. A colossal thick vine erupts from the earth, shooting skyward. The princess is taken aback by the sudden, fierce assault from below. More vines surge forth, attempting to ensnare her as she dodges wildly. Hashira yells, questioning if she genuinely believes she can evade him now. Carmilla suddenly realizes he's commanding the very plants around them. Gritting her teeth, she prepares a magical counterstrike in defiance. Her magical projectiles explode harmlessly against the ground far below. She conjures multiple magic circles, gearing up for a more potent assault. With a grunt, she forms a sharp, shimmering blade of magic. Hashiro's voice echoes, warning her that escape is impossible in this forest. A surge of powerful roots and vines suddenly bursts forth from every direction. Carmilla gasps in shock as the forest itself turns against her. The vines ensnare her, binding her tightly despite her frantic struggles. A magic circle flares as she attempts to blast her way out. To her astonishment, her magic fizzles. The vine remains completely unaffected. She realizes in horror that her magic is being absorbed. The vines begin to glow, pulsing as they siphon her energy. She cries out in agony and shock as her strength is drained. Pleading for him to stop, she screams that it's her precious magic. Hashira's face hardens with cold fury as he vows to drain her completely. A sudden noise makes his eyes widen, breaking his concentration. Luludia grabs him, pleading for him to halt before he harms the princess. He grits his teeth, torn between his anger and Luludia's desperate plea. With her eyes tightly shut, she begs him once more to free Carmilla. With a resigned look, he finally agrees to her request. The vines release her, dropping the now unconscious princess to the ground. Hashira exhales, confessing to Luludia that he lost his cool. Luludia rushes to Carmilla, checking on the unconscious demon girl. She quickly assesses the princess, noting a severe magic deficiency. Worried about how to assist her, Hashira heads off to fetch a potion. He turns and strides back toward the house to retrieve the medicine. Luludia glances back, softly and thoughtfully calling his name. She expresses her gratitude for stopping his attack when she asked. She offers a gentle smile, reassuring him that his anger is understandable. He pauses, burdened by the weight of his violent choices. His face darkens as he surveys the destruction left by the battle. The mochi trees stand charred and skeletal against the overcast sky. A solitary droplet falls from a scorched, lifeless branch. Carmilla stirs, questioning whether he intends to take his father's throne. Irritated, Hashira replies that he simply wants a normal life here. He emphasizes that he has no desire for the Demon King's throne. Carmilla finds it odd that he wields such power, yet lacks ambition. She admits that his victory over her is a fact that cannot be ignored. With a broad, cheerful grin, she grandly invites him to express his wish. Confused, Hashir listens as Luludia explains demons prioritize power. Carmilla clarifies that in their world, the loser must obey the victor. She confirms that Hashira now holds the authority to command her. Hashira brushes this off, stating he dislikes such controlling traditions. His demeanor shifts to menacing as he issues a shocking command, "Show me your butt." Luludia gasps in horror while Carmilla wonders if he craves her body. Carmilla blushes, thinking it's not so bad to be desired by someone strong. He insists she needs punishment for her ignorance of her misdeeds. Carmilla yelps in fear as she finally grasps his intentions. He positions her over his knee for a classic spanking. She cries out in pain, arguing that draining her magic was sufficient. He dismisses her protest, claiming this is merely self-defense. He warns that if she still doesn't understand, the mighty Lent will continue. Terrified, she pleads for mercy from the giant golem. The mere thought of the colossal golem terrifies her. He notices her tail is surprisingly smooth as he holds her down. Luludia scolds him, explaining that a demon's tail is a sensitive area. He quickly apologizes, admitting he had no clue it was so delicate. He remembers his sister chastising him for his lack of gentleness. With determination, he resumes the punishment, stealing his heart. A silent panel offers a brief pause in the unfolding drama. Carmilla squirms, urging him to stop hesitating and just finish it. He lectures her, stating she can't just burn down people's fields. He asks if she realizes how many days of food she just ruined. She falls silent, understanding she has no clue how long crops take to mature. He declares that as the victor, he has one simple wish. He points at her, commanding her to assist with his farming tasks. She is appalled at the thought of tending to a farm. He explains she must make amends for the chaos and destruction she caused. She protests, questioning why a princess like her should do manual labor. He smirks, asking if the Demon King's daughter breaks her promises. Cornered, she retorts, insisting she never claimed she wouldn't do it. She points at him, asserting she will comply if that is his wish. Hashira mentions it's late and offers her a vacant room for the night. He then requests Luludia to teach her the proper way to bathe. A summary highlights the day's events: 3 trees lost, 1 arsonist gained. The following morning, Hashira presents Carmilla with a vast, untended field. He informs her that her first job is to clear this entire area. She stares at the unfamiliar farming tools, utterly bewildered. Carmilla, the demon princess, grips a peculiar curved blade, her expression one of confusion. Next, she reveals a spade, a tool meant for digging and turning soil. She proudly claims it's her first encounter with farming tools, while Hashira explains their use. To cultivate healthy crops, he explains, weeds and stones must be removed. He lifts a small rock, stressing that everything needs to be cleared. Carmilla squats in the grass, brushing off the task as mere weed removal. With a playful grin revealing her fangs, she suggests they should just incinerate everything. Hashira's friendly demeanor vanishes, replaced by a glare of intense disapproval. His expression darkens into something fearsome, prompting her to quickly backtrack. He gestures toward a large, weedy area, assigning it to her, and she eagerly accepts. With determination, she readies the sickle for her inaugural task as a farm hen. She starts slicing through the thick, overgrown grass with powerful swings. A broad, joyful smile spreads across her face. This work is surprisingly enjoyable. From afar, Hashira and Luludia observe the princess laboring with bemused expressions. He comments on her unexpected compliance, and Luludia agrees they should keep watching. A thorny vine gently taps Hashira's shoulder, catching his attention. He turns to find their guardian, the killer plant, requesting water. He asks Luludia for assistance, and she cheerfully agrees to handle it. With her eyes closed, she conjures a swirling magical sphere filled with pure water. She elegantly pours the life-giving water over the massive, thirsty plant. Luludia observes its rapid growth, attributing it to its diet of magical stones. From the field, Carmilla complains about the monotonous task of weeding. She yells that it's unfair they get to enjoy themselves while she toils. Hashira approaches, asking if she's already fatigued from the work. She whines about her aching back, but he tells her to endure it like a true farmer. With a frustrated pout, she puffs her cheeks in silent defiance. Reluctantly, she concedes his point, and he acknowledges her understanding. Her mood instantly lifts when he promises a break once the weeding is finished. She inquires if she can play with a monster during her break, and Hashira agrees. Energized by the promise of fun, she declares she'll work even harder. Luludia announces she's returning to water the other fields, and Hashira thanks her. The clear sky looms over the field as the princess continues her labor. She diligently clears the last of the weeds and collects the scattered stones. Striking a triumphant pose, she proudly presents her completed work for review. Hashira crouches down, telling her it's a passing grade for her initial effort. He officially grants her a break, and she exclaims with joy, "Hooray!" She dashes off, announcing her plan to pamper the killer plant. Her version of pampering involves a powerful headbutt against the plant's tough exterior. The plant retaliates immediately, smacking her with a vine as she cries out in pain. She questions why it's being so cruel, and Hashira calmly explains it's likely still upset. A genuine look of regret crosses her face as she asks how to befriend it. He advises her that the best approach is to demonstrate her good intentions through actions. Clenching her tiny fists, she resolves to try even harder to gain its trust. He asks if she needs more rest, but she declines, ready to resume work. He explains the next task involves using the spade to break up and soften the soil. He shows her the correct technique, driving the wooden spade into the hard ground. He tells her that's all there is to it, and she thinks it looks easy. With a confident shout, she prepares to swing the spade with all her strength. She brings the tool down with a thunderous, earth-shattering impact. He cautions her against using so much force, but she insists she has plenty of energy. He concedes that her raw strength is undeniably dependable, despite her lack of finesse. Luludia observes with worry, questioning if it's truly safe for her to swing so recklessly. Hashira acknowledges that the princess appears quite self-assured in her physical abilities. Luludia states she will begin preparing lunch once she finishes tending to the fields. Carmilla halts her labor, wiping the sweat from her forehead, clearly feeling the effort. Her next swing lacks the earlier force, landing with a dull thud. She comes to a halt, leaning on the spade, her energy waning. From across the field, Hashira shouts, inquiring about her lost enthusiasm. She grumbles that tilling is even more exhausting than weeding, and her back is sore. Hashira observes her struggle with a calm, knowing look. He steps in to teach her the correct technique, emphasizing the spade's weight over sheer force. With his guidance, she tries again, the spade easily sinking into the earth. "Wow, Hashira!" she exclaims, astonished that she can do it with almost no effort. With a victorious laugh, she resumes tilling, her movements now effective and strong. Hashira smiles, impressed, noting her natural talent for this task. He reflects that she might turn out to be a more valuable worker than he ever expected. From the forest's edge, Luludia calls out that lunch is finally ready. Hashira turns to Carmilla, suggesting they take a break for a well-deserved meal. The princess hesitates, a rare expression of doubt crossing her features. She quietly asks if it's truly acceptable for her to join them for the meal. Hashira gazes at her with a gentle, reassuring smile. He explains that since she is helping with the fields, she is now one of them. Her eyes widen as she processes the term companion, a new and welcome idea. With a bright, joyful smile, she announces that she will partake in the meal. Hashira gives a small, content nod, pleased with her change of heart. On the porch, Luludia serves a steaming soup filled with smoked meat and wild vegetables. Carmilla grimaces at the sight, complaining that the soup is packed with vegetables. Luludia encourages her to give it a try, sharing that she was once tricked into enjoying them too. With great hesitation, the princess takes her first cautious sip. The warm, savory broth is rich with tender meat and fresh greens. Her expression shifts from skepticism to surprise as she savors the taste. Her eyes widen as the flavor registers. "It's not bitter," she exclaims, utterly astonished. She declares it's far tastier than the bitter meals from the castle. Hashira happily enjoys his own bowl of the hearty soup. He comments on how well the sweetness of the boar meat pairs with the vegetables. He muses that with her current attitude, it's hard to tell who the real princess is. The sun beams down on the tranquil homestead, a perfect day for a shared meal. Carmilla says the food was delightful, and Luludia beams with satisfaction. Sipping tea, Hashira reflects that pleasing a picky eater is a unique kind of reward. Carmilla falls silent, her cheerful demeanor replaced by a thoughtful seriousness. She gazes down at her empty bowl, lost in her own thoughts. Hashira notices her quiet mood and gently inquires about her thoughts. Her contemplative face is mirrored in the last drops of soup as a realization hits her. She rises with a newfound determination. Bowing deeply, she offers a heartfelt apology and vows to make amends for her actions. Hashira and Luludia are taken aback by her sincere regret. They share a warm, understanding smile, accepting her apology. It appears that deep down, the princess is an honest and kind-hearted individual. Hashira reassures her that it's all right, suggesting she help wherever she can. Carmilla defiantly thrusts her hand forward, rejecting Hashira's offer to ease her workload. "I'll support you until the very end," she proclaims, filled with determination. She promises to help them cultivate even tastier crops, catching her friends off guard. With a joyful leap, she excitedly declares it's time to resume their farming. Hashira and Luludia observe as the princess eagerly readies herself for the fields. Hashira turns to Luludia, expressing his worry that Carmilla's parents might be anxious. Luludia's complexion drains as she realizes this means confronting the Demon King. Hashira contemplates, wondering if it's truly okay for her to remain. A tranquil wide shot captures the expansive, serene lake beneath a cloudy sky. Luludia scrubs closely, confirming that Hashira's soap is working exceptionally well. She mentions that any odor can be masked with herbs. Cleanliness is key. With a victorious shout, she lifts a brilliantly white, freshly laundered garment. Hashira inquires if she can hang his clothes to dry once she's done. Luludia turns beaming, assuring him to leave it all to her. Hashira cups his hands around his mouth, calling out to Carmilla in the lake. She surfaces from the water, laughing triumphantly while showcasing her impressive catch. Hesher is astonished she caught so many barehanded, but she insists it was simple. The placid lake provides a stunning backdrop for their upcoming lunch. How certain it is that Carmilla will prepare the meal while Luludia finishes the laundry. He requested her to gather firewood and look for a rigo fruit with lint. "Leave it to me," she cheers, beckoning Lent to follow her. Hashira rummages through the underbrush, seeking the herbs needed for cooking. "Found it," he exclaims, his face lighting up as he spots the plants. An informative panel identifies the first herb as fragrant and flavorful rosemary. The second is MS Weba, known for its antibacterial properties in cooking. With his ingredients collected, Hashira feels ready to ignite the fire. A simple transition panel shows the sky, shifting the scene to meal prep. Carmilla asks if they can just grill the fish without cleaning them first. Hashira clarifies that these fish have tough scales that should be removed. He demonstrates how to use the knife's back to scrape off the scales. He admits he's only seen his grandmother prepare fish this way before. First, he carefully removes the head just behind the pectoral fin. Next, he opens the belly to extract all the internal organs. He cautions Carmilla to watch out for the fish's sharp spines. After rinsing the fish in the stream, he gets ready to fillet it. He glides his knife along the backbone, carefully opening the fish. The perfectly butterflied fillets are done, a shape Carmilla recognizes with joy. Hashira suggests adding some oil, just as Lent returns from his task. He places a sprig of rosemary atop the fillet before wrapping it in leaves. He explains to Carmilla that the leaves are for aroma, not for consumption. Luludia returns, announcing their clothes are dry. Hashira thanks her. He tells Carmilla it's time for both of them to get dressed for their meal. The leaf-wrapped parcels steam gently as they cook over the heated stones. Now dressed, Hashira presents the meal to an eager Luludia and Carmilla. The completed dish is revealed, whitefish baked in amasweba leaves with rosemary. Luludia's eyes shine with delight as she exclaims how delicious it appears. Hashira brings his hands together, ready to express gratitude for the meal. The three of them say, "Itadakimasu" together, prepared to start their feast. Luludia takes her first delicate bite of the freshly cooked white fish. "Delicious," she declares, praising the perfect blend of herb and rosemary. Carmilla agrees that the fish is wonderfully sweet, and Hashira notes its tenderness. He compliments Carmilla on her impressive fishing skills, making her puff up with pride. The serene lake serves as a calming backdrop as they finish their meal. Once they tidy up, Carmilla eagerly urges a quick return to the fields. Hashira reminds her that nothing will have changed, yet her resolve remains. Luludia observes how much Carmilla has grown to love farming. Hashira agrees, noting her dedication has made his growth abilities redundant. Suddenly, Hashira's demeanor shifts, his head snapping to the side. A large insect resembling a bee buzzes past Luludia, who remains blissfully unaware. Hashira instinctively pulls her close, shielding her from the buzzing creature. He studies the insect, questioning if it's merely a honeybee. A polite voice interrupts, and Hashira looks around, puzzled. He asks Luludia if she spoke, but she shakes her head, equally confused. The enigmatic voice clarifies it's above him. He glances upward. A scream of sheer terror escapes him at the sight of the enormous queen bee. The bee spoke. He yells as Luludia calmly identifies the hell hornet queen. The queen reveals she was looking for him, leaving him bewildered. She explains her hive's symbiotic bond with the deadly plant he tamed. Hashira suddenly understands, realizing the repercussions of his actions. He concludes he has disrupted their ecosystem, feeling a twinge of guilt. The queen formally requests his protection for her hive. Hashira agrees, and Luludia, speaking for the queen, expresses their gratitude. Seizing the moment, Hashira cheerfully invites the hive to settle nearby. The queen is taken aback by his generous offer to let them stay so close. He proposes a deal. In exchange for protection, they will provide honey. The queen assures him they can produce plenty as long as flowers are available. Hashira wonders if the flowers he can conjure will be enough. With a flick of his staff, he instantly creates a stunning, blooming flower. The queen is astonished by the flower's rich and delightful scent. She promises top-quality honey, and he instructs her to prepare her hive. The queen agrees and flies off to gather the rest of her swarm. With a new mission ahead, the group heads back toward their home. Luludia suggests hosting a honey tasting party with the mochi fruit. Carmilla excitedly declares she wants 3, warning him not to run out. They return to the clearing, their cozy home waiting for them. A sharp voice calls down from above, addressing the princess. Carmilla looks up, her cheerful expression shifting to one of growing dread. She gasps at the sight of her attendant, who announces she has been found. The attendant unleashes a surge of magic, ensnaring Carmilla in a thorny cage. A caption introduces Clea, a demon creation, as Carmilla cries out her name. Hashira asks if she recognizes the newcomer. Carmilla confirms it's her caretaker. Clea disregards the others, her voice strained as she speaks to the princess. She suddenly turns on Hashira, furious at his casual demeanor with royalty. In a blind rage, Clea launches a vicious attack aimed directly at Luludia. The force of her magic sends Hashira, Luludia, and Carmilla hurtling backward. Clea relentlessly assaults Luludia, who cries out in pain from the onslaught. Pinned to the ground, Luludia pleads with her attacker to stop. Carmilla begs Hashira to step in, fearing for Clea's life. The killer plant's massive thorny vines erupt, ensnaring the rampaging attendant. Carmilla rushes to Clea's side, asking if her injured attendant is okay. Still shaking, Clea tells the princess she genuinely thought she would perish. Carmilla embraces her tightly, assuring her that everything is all right now. Overwhelmed with relief, the devoted attendant hides her face in tears. From afar, Hashira and Luludia observe the heartfelt reunion. A serene moment lingers beneath the expansive, cloudy sky of the great forest. Hashira inquires if she feels calm now. Clea apologizes for her earlier outburst. She formally presents herself as Cleaver Million, a demon serving Carmilla. With a warm smile, Hashira introduces himself, happy to meet her. He gestures toward Luludia, completing the introductions for their small group. Hashira questions if she traveled all this way solely to find the princess. Clea affirms, mentioning it was the longest Carmilla had ever been away. With her duty in mind, Cleo tells the princess it's time to head home. Carmilla immediately and defiantly refuses to abandon the homestead. She proclaims that her responsibilities here remain unfulfilled. A puzzled Clea asks what she means by responsibilities. Carmilla confirms it. The princess admits she had been utterly foolish until recently. She laments destroying the fields, unaware of the effort involved. With fierce determination, she vows to stay until she cultivates satisfactory crops. Her attendant is left speechless by this sudden, profound commitment. Cleo suggests the Demon King might be worried, but Carmilla brushes it off. Hashira agrees they should at least check in to prevent further issues. Carmilla ponders his words, her hand resting thoughtfully on her chin. She makes a choice, instructing Cleo to return and inform her father. Cleo panics, screams that traversing the great forest alone again is impossible. Hearing her panic, Hashira realizes he has the perfect solution. He proposes that she take Lena as a bodyguard and to help carry things. When asked, the formidable golem gives a confident and reassuring thumbs up. Clea is ecstatic, exclaiming that having a Guillemot escort would be fantastic. With everything settled, Hashira smiles, satisfied with the arrangement. He invites them to stay the night, as the forest is perilous after dark. Night descends, and the stars shimmer above Hushara's house. Fresh from a bath, a radiant Carmilla and a blushing Clea emerge. Hashira welcomes them, assuring that Clea is their guest. He adds with a grin that their timing is impeccable. The food is ready. An impressive feast is spread out, with a tiny Carmilla presenting the menu. They gather around the hearth as Hashira invites them to start their meal. Luludia clasps her hands, offering a quiet prayer of gratitude for the food. Just as Clea is about to eat, Carmilla halts her with a serious look. The attendant gazes at her princess, puzzled by the sudden interruption. Carmilla explains that Itadaki Masu is a prayer of gratitude for life's blessings. Hashira clarifies it's merely a simple greeting, which eases Clea. With a gentle smile, Clea clasps her hands and expresses her thanks. She decides to sample a piece of the delicious devil fang steak first. She takes a bite, her eyes closed as she relishes the flavor. Her eyes snap open in shock as she exclaims how tasty it is. She devours it with remarkable enthusiasm, much to Hashira's surprise. He asks if it's bland without salt, but she insists it's not. She praises the tender meat and the delightfully tangy sauce. Hashira is pleased she enjoys it, munching on a mochi bun. Luludia happily explains that the sauce's tartness comes from the gravolingo. She then offers Clea a mochi fruit with sauce, which she gladly accepts. Clea samples the salad, amazed by its sweetness and absence of bitterness. Carmilla beams, revealing she personally harvested and tended to those vegetables. With a self-satisfied grin, she proclaims that they are undeniably delicious. She mentions her particular fondness for the crunchy, sweet Aonoko veggies. Clea is completely astonished to witness the princess willingly eating vegetables. She remembers how Carmilla would always turn them down back at the castle. Hashira clarifies that while his crops are milder, there's another factor. Carmilla states that the effort put into harvesting enhances the flavor. Clea gazes at her princess, truly recognizing her growth. The princess's eyes sparkle as she mentions there's more to look forward to. She excitedly announces that soon they can gather the strawberries she's nurtured. She can hardly contain her excitement, her face glowing with anticipation. A warm, proud smile spreads across Clea's face as she observes her. She quietly reflects on how much the princess has transformed in such little time. The scene shifts to the next morning. Birds chirp atop the house, signaling the arrival of a new day. Clea expresses her gratitude to Shira for breakfast, but he insists it's no trouble. Suddenly, he recalls something crucial he needs to talk to her about. He informs Cleo that he has a small favor to request while she's here. He elaborates on their lack of seeds, seasonings, and other essentials. In exchange, he offers her a hefty pouch filled with magic stones from the forest. She examines a large crystal, commenting on its exceptional quality. She agrees to consult the Demon King, and Hashira expresses his gratitude. Carmilla impatiently urges Clea to hurry back for the strawberry gathering. Clea stutters that she'll be as quick as the perilous forest permits. Hashira requested Lent to look after Cleo during her return journey. With her formidable guardian beside her, Clea confidently bids them goodbye. The three stand on the porch, wishing her a safe journey. They wave as Clea and Lent vanish into the thick woods. The following morning, a cheerful Luludia and an enthusiastic Carmilla greet Hashira. He smiles, wishing them both a good morning from within the house. He mentions he'll construct the beehive and ask them to care for the fields. He wonders what new crops Clea will return with. He tells Carmilla he's relying on her, and she eagerly agrees. She proudly claims her spade skills are now flawless. Luludia chuckles, impressed by how rapidly the princess has advanced. Hashira starts his task by clearing a patch of weeds for the hive. He brushes the dirt off his hands, ready for the main construction. With determination, he declares it's time to build the main beehive. He grunts, straining to lift a heavy stone slab for the base. After placing all the stones, he collapses, worn out from the labor. Next, he meticulously assembles the multi-tiered wooden frame by hand. With a proud gesture, he adds a stylish roof to finalize the structure. Wiping his brow, he steps back and announces the beehive is complete. He jumps as a voice suddenly calls out his name. The Hell Hornet Queen has arrived, and he greets her warmly. He notices her small entourage, but she brings a gift. She offers a massive honeycomb, which he gratefully accepts. He proudly shows her the splendid new home he has crafted for her hive. Hashira politely requests the queen to teach him how to utilize the new beehive. The queen consents to take a look, vanishing inside while Hashira waits, anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. Eagerly, he shouts out, curious about her thoughts on his creation. She informs him that it's well sealed and keeps a pleasant temperature. Hashira beams with pride. The queen peeks out, exclaiming her fondness for it. He proposes she give it a try, and she readily agrees. To help them feel at home, Hashira decides to make flowers bloom in the vicinity. The queen watches, impressed by his considerate and potent act. He grips his divine staff, ready to summon the plant god's energy. He ponders which flowers would delight the bees the most. With a burst of energy, he drives the staff's tip into the ground. In a dazzling spectacle, a sprawling field of flowers bursts into bloom. The queen gasps in wonder at the stunning, fragrant meadow that has emerged. Exhausted yet fulfilled, Hashir rests as the queen calls his name in gratitude. She expresses her thanks for their lovely new home, but he reassures her not to fret. As a token of appreciation, the queen gifts him a large, shimmering honeycomb. He comments that sweets are ideal for fatigue and suggests they all take a breather. He shouts to Luludia and Carmilla, who are toiling in the far-off fields. He announces a honey-tasting event, planning to drizzle it over mochi fruit. Days pass after the honey tasting, and a new morning arrives. Carmilla awakens with a stretch, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. She quickly dresses, brimming with an unusual surge of morning energy. With fierce determination, she gears up to tackle her day. Luludia greets a bright-eyed Carmilla, surprised to see her up so early. Carmilla announces her extra motivation because it's strawberry harvest day. Luludia suggests a proper breakfast, and Hashira nods in agreement. The strawberry patch is brimming with large, perfectly ripe red berries. Hashira explains that the juiciest, seed-covered berries are the finest. He selects a flawless specimen, admiring its perfect ripeness. Luludia cheerfully hands Carmilla a woven basket for the harvest. Carmilla glances at the basket, a sudden wave of uncertainty washing over her. She confesses that now that the moment has arrived, she feels a bit hesitant. Hashira observes her, a look of quiet understanding on his face. He kneels beside her, ready to share some of his own insights. He remembers feeling it was a shame to harvest the first plant he nurtured. Carmilla asks if he experienced the same feelings, and he affirms that he did. She realizes it's because she nurtured them with such care that she feels this way. He clarifies that harvesting and consuming them is the highest form of respect. Grasping his point, Carmilla concedes that he is correct. With renewed determination, she gently plucks a ripe strawberry from its vine. She holds it up like a prized possession, proudly stating it's the strawberry she nurtured. Hashira smiles beside her, encouraging her to take a bite. She brings the berry to her lips and takes her first victorious bite. "Delicious," she whispers. Luludia praises her for cultivating them so well. Flustered yet happy, Carmilla insists that Hashira and Luludia must have one too. He asks if they can truly have one, and she enthusiastically replies, of course. Accepting her invitation, Hashira and Luludia each select a berry for themselves. Luludia pops the sweet red fruit into her mouth. Hashira follows suit, relishing the flavor of the fresh strawberry. They all agree it's delightful, and Carmilla puffs out her chest with pride. Luludia suggests that while they're great fresh, they'd also make fantastic jam. A serene, fulfilling moment unfolds as they savor the rewards of their hard work. Carmilla feels a sense of joy seeing others appreciate her harvest. Hashira beams, recognizing her sentiment as the true delight of farming. Their basket fills rapidly with vibrant red strawberries. While they collaborate, Carmilla reflects on how wonderful this experience is. That evening, after a fulfilling day, it's time for a delightful dessert. Post a savory dinner of smoked meat, they unwind by the fire. Carmilla inquires what Hashira plans to do now that their meal has ended. He lifts a skewer of strawberries, revealing his intention to create dessert. The mention of dessert sends both Luludia and Carmilla into a whirlwind of excitement. Noticing their eagerness, he asks if they want to assist in making it. In perfect harmony, they both exclaim their eagerness to help. He describes the first step, carefully threading the washed strawberries onto skewers. Luludia and Carmilla find the task straightforward and enjoyable. Next, they need to boil the honey, ensuring it doesn't scorch. Luludia stirs the pot, observing the moisture evaporating. He informs her it's ready and asks her to remove the pot from the heat. He dips the skewers into the bubbling syrup, which looks tempting to Carmilla. Holding up a glazed skewer, he tells them to wait for one final step. He requests Luludia to use her magic to cool and solidify the honey glaze. Luludia focuses, unleashing a blast of cold magic over the sweet treats. He presents a perfectly crafted skewer, proudly announcing it's complete. He showcases the tray of delicious forest Ichigo candy as the girls cheer. They all take a big, satisfyingly crunchy bite of the candied fruit. Carmilla exclaims that the crispy texture is utterly delightful. Luludia agrees that the honey's sweetness pairs perfectly with the strawberry's tartness. Hashira muses that this recipe would also taste great with other fruits. Later that night, tranquility envelops the homestead beneath the starry sky. A bright full moon hangs high above the outline of the great forest. The enormous guardian plant, their protector, remains vigilant and awake. Carmilla reclines on its head, sharing that the strawberries she grew were delicious. She adds that she's certain the honey from its hive will be equally good. The small demon princess rests atop the giant plant under the expansive starry sky. She reflects on her former self, who would have overlooked such simple pleasures. Thanks to Hashira and Luludia, she has uncovered so many delightful experiences. The guardian plant gently brushes her head with one of its thorny vines. She smiles, recognizing that she owes gratitude to the plant as well. With renewed determination, she vows to keep giving her best effort. Luludia appears on the porch, informing Carmilla that it's time for bed. Startled, Carmilla quickly replies that she's heading inside. Before departing, she turns to wish her giant plant friend a good night. As she settles down, a large leaf from the plant gently envelops her. The giant plant closes its eyes, a silent and content guardian. A shooting star blazes across the night sky above the tranquil sleeping farm. Clea has returned, joyfully announcing her arrival to her princess. Hashira and Carmilla greet her, both thrilled to see her back safely. Clea gestures toward the wagon, filled with the requested seeds and spices. She lists additional supplies as Luludia thanks Lent, leaving Hashira overwhelmed. Taking a deep breath, Hashira finally manages a heartfelt welcome back. A peculiar ant-like creature rides on Lent's shoulder, catching Hashira's eye. Luludia identifies the creature as an itamushigiri, a specific kind of monster. She describes how they spin threads from their mouths to create nests in trees. Luludia connects the dots. Lent brought it for thread, and Hashira expresses gratitude. Hashira decides the creature can reside in a tree close to the archery range. He requests Lent to guide it, and the golem responds with a confident thumbs up. Hashira inquires Clea about the status of her report to the Demon King. Cleo joyfully announces that the king has approved their stay. Clea then asks Hashira if she can also remain to tend to Carmilla. He consents, and she eagerly vows to handle their supply runs from now on. By the supply wagon, Hashira remarks on the challenge of acquiring seasonings. He eagerly asks Clea to reveal what supplies she has brought back. Clea showcases the seasonings, detailing the various bags of sugar and pepper. Overwhelmed with emotion, Hashira tears up at the sight of a salt bag. Clea mentions that another bag holds chili powder, perfect for cutting gamey tastes. He inhales the spicy powder, thankful for the new array of flavors. She unveils crates filled with jars of crop seeds, all neatly labeled. Carmilla excitedly clutches a jar, eager to plant the new seeds immediately. Hashira is delighted she also brought vegetables and meat for immediate use. Clea gestures to another crate, indicating she has even more supplies. He is astonished to find she even brought a large, heavy iron plate. She presents a new pot and pan, which he gratefully accepts. Inspired, Hashira proclaims they will host a barbecue to celebrate her arrival. The girls are utterly confused, having never encountered the term barbecue. Meat and vegetable skewers sizzle enticingly on the hot iron griddle. Luludia clarifies it's simply grilled skewers, while Hashira ponders the term. An info panel explains that barbecue involves slow cooking, unlike quick grilling. Carmilla eagerly holds the chili powder, ready to spice up their meal. He asks if she has salt and pepper, and she enthusiastically confirms she does. He demonstrates how to assemble the skewers, a task she finds quite easy. He instructs her to take the skewers to the grill while he cooks them. A close-up reveals the food sizzling, glistening with mouth-watering juices. He observes that the iron plate's heat conduction speeds up cooking compared to stone. Tiny versions of Hashira and Carmilla agree the food is ready. Luludia arrives with a steaming platter of freshly grilled mochi fruit. With a warm smile, Luludia announces that it's finally time to eat. They gather around the table, joining hands in gratitude for the feast. Hashira takes a massive, satisfying bite from one of the grilled skewers. The salt flavor overwhelms him, bringing tears of pure joy. Luludia contemplates the significance of seasoning as the others eat messily. Clea scolds the princess for her messy eating, but Carmilla blissfully ignores her. Hashira explains to Cleo that he hasn't cooked with proper seasonings in a while. Cleo sighs in defeat, realizing she can't stop the princess's messy enjoyment. Hashira notes that messy eating is simply part of a barbecue's charm. He encourages everyone to eat well, as they have plenty of work ahead. A long, freshly tilled field stretches beneath the expansive, cloudy sky. The scene sweeps across the wide expanse of prepared fertile farmland. Hashira and Luludia embark on the monumental task of planting the new seeds. In another field, Carmilla and Clea carefully plant the new seedlings together. The entire group works in harmony, preparing crates and planting the new fields. Luludia announces she will handle watering the new fields. She focuses intently, forming a large, swirling orb of water in her palms. With a forceful gesture, she sends the water sphere soaring into the sky. The magic conjures a gentle, sparkling rain that nourishes the expansive fields. Once the watering is done, Hashira declares it's his turn to contribute. He kneels, channeling his growth-enhancing ability into the rich soil. A surge of energy flows through the rows, causing new plants to emerge. He decides this initial boost suffices, planning to add magic stones later. Clea approaches him, her expression serious, eager to discuss something important. She proposes that for future expansion, they need to recruit more people. She clarifies that they lack skilled hands for intricate construction and repairs. She highlights the danger of depending solely on Hashira and Lent. Apologizing for her bluntness, she appreciates his gratitude for her insight. As the two demons walk away, Hashira is left to reflect on her words. He taps his cheek, seriously mulling over her advice about needing assistance. The term manpower echoes in his mind as he contemplates the future. The scene transitions to the Demon King's foreboding castle under the night sky. A close-up reveals the Demon King's hand encased in a crystalline gauntlet. Seated on his throne, he admires the remarkable magic stone Klee delivered. He observes that a creature strong enough to produce this stone would be fearsome. Meanwhile, Hashira and Luludia chat about their life on the farm. The Demon King's interest is piqued, a sinister grin spreading across his face. The scene shifts back to the familiar tranquil roof of Hashira's home. Hashira and Luludia are astonished by the plant's astonishing growth spurt. It has transformed into a massive mother plant, a creature of legendary status. Carmilla and Clea recognize the being from ancient texts, shouting its name. Clea warns it's a national threat, but Hashira dismisses it as a concern. He refers to it as a friend, relieved it hadn't evolved when they first met. He informs Luludia that he will check on the Itamushigiri now. He asks the girls to keep preserving food while he is away. He signals for his formidable golem companion Lent to join him. The two companions stroll together, making their way to the forest's edge. He is taken aback by the large nest the creature has already constructed. High up in a tree, they discover the large, intricately crafted nest. He calls out to the nest, requesting a representative to step forward. An Itamushigiri emerges from the silken nest, observing him closely. The creature elegantly scurries down the tree trunk to meet him. It performs a courteous bow, which Hashira reciprocates as he crouches. He introduces himself as Lent's master, the leader of their group. He proposes a trade, their support in exchange for woven cloth items. The creature nods, silently agreeing to his suggested arrangement. It swiftly weaves a sample cloth, leaving Hashira in awe of its speed. A close-up shows its appendages deftly manipulating the silken threads. In a flurry of motion, it quickly weaves the threads into fabric. He brushes the soft fabric against his cheek, impressed by its quality. He requests a list of items, towels, pants, and large fabric sheets. He then inquires if it could also create clothing for them. The creature and a companion begin circling him, seemingly taking measurements. Even Lent appears puzzled by the creature's odd circling behavior. Hashira asks Lent if making clothes might be a challenging task for them. In the woods, Hashira and Lent strike a victorious pose, celebrating their achievement. A sudden sound interrupts Hashira's celebration, prompting him to glance around in confusion. Inside, the girls jump at a loud cheer, their heads snapping up in shock. Luludia raises an alarm while Carmilla calmly pinpoints the source of the noise. Worried about what might happen, the three girls dash outside, with Carmilla leading the way. Luludia halts, letting out a horrified scream at the sight of Hashira. In his underwear, he frantically denies any mischief while Lent stands nearby. He clarifies that he was merely being fitted for new clothes by Itamushigiri. Clea fully grasps the situation, leaving Luludia utterly bewildered. Luludia chastises him for his lack of clothing, but he defensively counters. He kneels before the tiny weaver, pleading for at least a shirt. In gratitude, the creatures present a generous platter of tasty mochi fruit. Several tranquil days unfold at their flourishing home in the great forest. Hashira joyfully declares that it's finally time to gather their new harvest. Carmilla eagerly offers to grab a basket, with Clea dutifully trailing her. Luludia attributes their satisfying life to Hashira, who humbly deflects the credit. She laughs, insisting that his power is the real reason for their swift success. Luludia proposes a celebratory tomato soup, and Hashira is all in for the tasty idea. He opts for fish as the main dish, a task he'll leave to Lent. An overwhelming force suddenly washes over him, his face twisting in disbelief. The ground shakes as he and Luludia fight to maintain their footing. Luludia's eyes widen in fear, sensing the immense magical pressure. Luludia spots a figure descending from the sky and points it out to Hashira. A majestic demon hovers above, clearly impressed by their homestead's progress. He observes with a curious expression, taking in the unfolding scene. From his elevated position, he watches the two figures standing below. He lands gracefully, contemplating how their development exceeds his expectations. With a confident grin, the formidable demon addresses Hashira directly. Hashira stares back, his mind racing, questioning the identity of this powerful guest. The demon begins a grandiose introduction, his voice resonating with authority. But his speech is abruptly interrupted as thorny vines burst from the ground. He twists away with surprising speed, narrowly evading the vicious onslaught. He recognizes the legendary mother plant, a being of immense destructive force. With a single effortless strike, he slices through the attacking vines using his magic. The massive plant disappears in an instant, and Luludia identifies the teleportation spell. Luludia's expression hardens as she evaluates the powerful and unforeseen threat. The plant reappears safely on a rooftop, with Hashira and Luludia beside it. The demon frowns, realizing that Cleo's report had missed this crucial detail. He questions the true extent of the homestead's defenses and capabilities. Hashira glares at the intruder, pondering the true, ominous intent behind his arrival.